Hey everyone, good night. Sorry, I had to get a joke in there.
Okay.
You didn't get it?
No, I got it. I got it.
Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about political events as they happen and cover history as it unfolds. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
And we're here to talk to you about some recent stories. Of course, the big one that's going on this week, as of Tuesday, at least was the last day to vote, the midterms of 2022. And we've just been here preparing for the show, talking about what we know so far, how it's going, and we're going to go through that. We're also going to go into a little bit of how things are going on with the Trumpster, because he's been talking about his possible political future. We all know it to be true. And then we're also going to talk about the future of these midterms, how we think things could play out. The big thing that we can, I guess, start off with is it has been confirmed that we are going to go to a runoff in Georgia, that we are going to see Warnock versus Walker in Georgia. And to be honest, I'm trying to think about what I was expecting. To me, that one really could go either way. When I was trying to think about how I was thinking about it in the lead up to Tuesday, I was like, well, you got Warnock, who's really bad. He's just a bad candidate when it comes to things like moral issues. He's super pro-choice, super pro-critical race theory, cannot even bring himself to denounce Fidel Castro. He can't even bring himself to do it. He talks about how he has a complex legacy, and don't let anyone tell you that it's a simple legacy. And he kind of like Bernie Sanders praises their literacy program, their education system. Cannot bring himself to just, criticize a communist country. So you've got him. Then you've got Walker, who has a big sports background, has been supported by Trump, and there's been some controversies with him, unfounded or founded, we'll leave for you to decide.
But they're in the past.
Right.
That's the thing, is like the Dems, and I get, you got to attack people's pasts, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's how politics are played. You attack the past, but it's like, that's the biggest thing, is if he doesn't get the vote, I think it's a lot of the past messed him up. It's not really his policies messed him up. Also, it's Georgia too,
That was what I was going to say. The big factor with all this is it's like most states, the country, the farms, the rural area, very, very, very conservative and red, but those cities are so big. I mean, you talk about Savannah, you talk about Atlanta. It is just so extremely blue. Overall, there's some conservative people in there, Republicans in there, but overall, very, very, very blue. And it ranges from people that are more just establishment blue to the far left crazies, extremists that are like, well, Warnock's not doing enough, people like that. So to me, I came into this not really knowing what was going to happen, and I went to bed election night at about 11:30, and it was only about a third of votes were, maybe more like, it was between 30 and 40%. And it was neck and neck, like 49 versus 48. It was that close. And the other thing that we haven't even talked about in prep for this is Arizona, their governor in particular. You've got the Mark Kelly and Masters race, I believe it is. And then you've also got the race between Kari Lake and I think the other one's named Hobbs. I think the Democrats Hobbs or Hobb or something like that.
And if Kari Lake can't pull that out, man.
Well, what do you?
She's really good.
She is really good, and Arizona again, the same problem. Phoenix, Tucson, very blue overall, but the rest of it,
Arizona's purple.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's sadly,
to me, kind of like we were saying for prepping for the show, Georgia is purple but getting bluer all the time, and so it's like, what are we going to do? And so. We'll go into the future as far as what we think is going to happen later. But to me, I saw Arizona and actually thought, I think Lake probably has a chance. Obviously, the incumbent or whoever's going to have an advantage. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if, I did at the time think, Kari Lake probably has a chance. I thought Walker had a chance. I didn't know how strong of a chance. Yeah. And to be honest, these races have played out about like how I would have guessed, like so close that we can't really see what's going on.
How's that red wave?
Well, what do we think about that?
Or that red tsunami.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even know if I heard...
Have you come down from the high ground yet?
Yeah, right.
Did you even get wet?
No. So, that's a question. See, this was trending on Twitter, what you just said. Red wave, red tsunami was trending on Twitter. It was leading up.
You can never believe Twitter, though.
Trump was saying it in his rallies.
Oh, boy.
Several people were saying we're going to have a gigantic red wave. Even from what I saw of people on the Daily Wire or Steven Crowder saying there's going to be such a tremendous red wave. And are we seeing this? Is it materializing?
In Florida.
To me, it again, the red states that were already red
Got more red.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of to me
like Florida's going to change even more.
Right. Because it's kind of like what you incentivize and control, you get more of.
Right.
And I mean, it's not just COVID, but COVID was a big reason, along with DeSantis, why it's basically turned a purple state red. It's a very hard line. Like, I think even in Miami, is it Miami Bay County?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
went red, which is a huge city, but it still went red. And so they must have had enough of a margin to actually pull that off. And so for that reason, that was a surprise to me. I thought, okay, I can understand him winning re-election, but even getting that county was a little bit surprising.
And even our state, South Carolina, it's like, we've all... People say, oh, yeah, we're a ruby red state. We've never been a ruby red state. I don't care what people say. We've been purple.
When you look, and I tell you, we live very close to Greenville. We live in a purple state.
Yeah, we definitely,
We see a lot of it in downtown Greenville. And
we went to school with it.
Our people we go to school with, exactly. Our coworkers, especially speaking for myself, my coworkers, I see it all the time.
I thought we were a blue state at one point in time. I'm especially with what we saw in high school and stuff. I mean, shoot. But aside from that, with what we got in South Carolina, I mean, yeah, sure, I know that you don't like McMaster, but I mean, I'm fine with him. He is a red, he's pretty red, and I mean, again, there's some things I've got with him. I wish he was more of a DeSantis mentality, but he at least does. When he needs to, he takes a stand, and again, I'll give him credit where credit is due. But we did really well in South Carolina, just in general.
We were just talking. We got a superintendent of education that was very, very good. Yeah. A lady that has background with people in Bob Jones, and even though Bob Jones has their issues, from what I can tell, they did this one right. She is anti-critical race theory. She is anti the transing and the grooming of the kids for the LGBT agenda. And not only that, she just strikes me as a genuine Christian. She just strikes me as a person that will actually lead. And the other thing is she doesn't have a background in the education system. And when she won, the establishment and the teachers went nuts.
Right.
And to me, that shows what we need to know. I mean, that's the other thing. To me, the fact that the left hates Walker, the fact that they hate Carrie Lake, a lot of times you can look at who the left hates and you can figure out, okay, well, I'm not going to give whoever it is a pass, but I'm going to look into you.
Why should I be for this guy?
Why, who are you? Let me listen to you.
Why do they hate
now.
them? Yeah.
And if they hate you for, I mean, it's rare, but a good reason, that's one thing. But increasingly, it's like, well, they hate you for all the wrong reasons.
Right,
I mean, you're actually good on the issues.
They hate you because you're a moral person.
Exactly, because they're so immoral, right? Their moral compass is just so bankrupt and twisted around that it's awful.
Exactly.
So I kind of like how you phrased it. The red states got redder. That's what we're seeing so far. And other than that, it has been just a battle.
But does that worry you?
I
don't mean to interrupt, but does that worry you? Because it's like, we talk about this red tsunami and we're expecting to, the way I thought about a red tsunami, I didn't buy it in the first place. Ever since the 2020 election, I haven't bought this whole red tsunami, et cetera, stuff, just because, anything can happen and I don't buy what the media says, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we made redder states redder, and that's great because, you want to, I mean, the big thing is making sure your state that you live in is good,
Yes.
I mean, because, whatever the Fed does, that's one thing, but, you still want to live in a good state, because the state protects you the most, so that's great, but at the same time, I feel like this red tsunami was kind of ineffective because we didn't do anything for the purple states. We didn't do anything for these battleground states. For example, Arizona. I mean, it didn't get any redder.
It's tied up. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Right, yeah.
It's to me, I don't know if any results.
But the margins are so close that it hasn't changed. You get what I'm saying? Like that's
that
the thing.
Depends on if you think there's anything afoot. And we haven't got into that. We haven't got into that yet.
Well, yeah,
I actually have some thing I was going to pull up my laptop here in a little bit.
Right.
To talk about that because, but we don't need to go into that yet. I mean, to reverse the question, does it worry you?
I mean, yeah. No, honestly, because we're just looking at it without statistics and everything, just looking at it, well, kind of with statistics, not like in-depth statistics. Just looking at it from statistics, these races are close and everything, and it's like in these purple states. So it's like, no, we're not changing the minds of people. So it's like, okay, what is what as Republicans or conservatives or whatever, what as the right are we doing wrong? You know, like that's the thing. And like, are we really changing? Like, is there really a red wave, or is it just a red wave in these? Like, have these red states found out it's like, oh yeah, we need to fix even stuff on the inside, and that, again, that's great. But the thing is, it's like these purple states, we got to fix these purple states. We got to fix, you know, blue states too. But some of these blue states, like California, they're gone. You can't fix it. Well, just wait for the big one for that to fall off the map at some point in time.
Right. But until the people that live there decide, we're gonna stop, they're gonna keep getting what they asked for.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, it is concerning to me, especially, you know, come 2024. I don't know. Like I you know, we were expecting, oh yeah, this huge red wave, and we're going to take the Senate by storm. We're going to take the House by storm. It's like, but we didn't. You know, I mean, we still have a chance to take the Senate. We took the House, I believe.
Well, so
or still
I need to look into that. We're not, I say we meaning the right, are not at 218 yet, but it looks like it would be so weird. Like, it would actually be really like odd, like head scratching if we didn't. So we ought to, the Republican Party is projecting to get the House. It's just based on what the data we're seeing so far, even though some races have not been called yet. The Senate, like kind of you said, to me, I never held my breath that anything was good was going to happen in the Senate. To me, I thought, you know, it would be shocking, but I mean, in this day and time, I'm not really shocked by anything. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if the Senate held almost exactly where it's at, where, 50-50. Some people's faces change. Like, okay, this guy lost, but then this guy won. So you're
expecting a 50-50 in the end?
To me, I'm not saying I expect it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I actually think that could happen.
I'm going to cross my fingers, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for this because it's not going to happen when I say it. I'm going to cross my fingers and say that it's going to go 51-49 in favor of the Republicans. Because the states that are left, minus Georgia, I have no idea what's going to happen to that one. You know, the Dems have to take 2 in order to win, or, well, keep the Senate the same, you know, which is, I call it a win because that basically, you know, with how did our vice president just slip my mind? Kamala Harris, there we go. Kamala Harris, gracious. I don't know how my
man, you should count yourself lucky. I've been trying to forget her for a long time.
Oh yeah, but no, technically it would be a 51-50 type thing there, but no.
Well, she can break a tie. So it would have to be tied.
Yeah. So
if it's not tied, she doesn't vote. That's
what I'm saying is if the Dems take 2, they will split the House. I mean Senate. That's what I meant. They will split the Senate 50-50 again. So
how likely do you think that is?
I don't.
You said you're crossing your fingers for it to happen.
I'm crossing my fingers, but the states, I believe Wisconsin's still up. I think we take Wisconsin.
Okay.
If we haven't already, I'm pretty sure I saw something that we actually did take Wisconsin. So that should be good. I think Alaska's up still. We'll take Alaska.
I would be pretty shocked if that.
Yeah, if we don't take Alaska, something's seriously up. So that's 2 on our side. The other 2, Georgia, which we won't know till like December.
I want to say it's like December 6th is the Tuesday that it's going to happen.
And in all honesty, I'd just go ahead and give that to the Dem. I mean,
you think that the youth? Well,
I don't have faith.
We're going to the future before I said we were going to, but we can go ahead and go.
Yeah, I just don't have faith in Georgia.
I'm showing that in the Senate in Wisconsin, Ron Johnson has won.
Okay, cool.
We've got 99% in, so that happened. He beat Mandela Barnes. That was pretty thin. That was literally 50.5 versus 49.5.
I'm surprised that's not a runoff.
He won by about 6,000 votes.
I'm surprised it's not a runoff.
A little more than 6,000 votes, which is, me too. I guess the only thing I can think out is they must have a different election law than Georgia,
right? Yeah, of course.
Which is not that surprising because Wisconsin is just a different kind of state than Georgia.
100%.
So, population-wise,
even these numbers worry me because Wisconsin is another one of those like. I mean, they're more red. They're more red, of course, but they are they're still purple, like I said. So you know, it's like this red wave should have changed those numbers a little bit. You know, I don't know. Like I'd be more comfortable if we saw 52-48 or something. I don't know. You know, like something like to say that like the red wave wasn't a tsunami, but it was at least a wave. You know, like this wasn't even like a drizzle.
And by the way, in case anyone's wondering, this is Associated Press because it's easy to get to. Right now, we've got 70% reporting this for the U.S. Senate in Arizona. Mark Kelly is 51.5. Blake Masters, who is the Republican, is 46.4.
But what do you have left in Arizona?
And, well, that's 70% reporting. It looks like we're now seeing 990,000-ish for Kelly and 892,000-ish for Masters. As far as the total voting populace that voted in this election, I'm not quite sure.
Right.
And that's just the Senate. When it comes to the gubernatorial election, I'm going to pull that up too. If you had to guess, how does that go? Gubernatorial election.
I don't know.
To me, that's a complete toss-up.
Yeah, it really
To me,
is.
Georgia, like I said, Georgia and Arizona are complete toss-ups.
Yeah.
I really could see it going either way. I really thought that, we were talking about this a little bit ago, I really thought, and look at how, this is now Arizona, 50.39 Hobbs, 49.61 Lake. This is a razor-thin margin. So
I really hope Carrie Lake can pull it through.
It's probably at about 70%.
What's the reporting? 70% votes in? Yeah. Yeah, 70% right there.
Okay, there we go. 70%. It was about like 68 this morning, so it's moving very slowly. It was like 60 the night of Tuesday.
If Florida can get their votes in one day, why can't the rest of the states?
Well,
I mean, this is a legitimate problem. I'm not even claiming, fraud, et cetera, et cetera.
I am.
Yeah, I know he is. Just because I also haven't looked at the stats yet or anything like that of the sort. I wouldn't be shocked if there was. I definitely think in 2020 there was. I'm an election denier.
Yes, you are.
Right. No, I'm just a,
What are you, Hillary Clinton's fan?
I'm just 100%.
She's the one.
I love Hillary
She
Clinton.
denied the election for a long time.
Right. No, I don't know. Just,
I've been saying for a long time the Democrats need to run with the slogan, "It's okay if we do it."
yeah, this is worrisome. This red wave, I don't know. Hopefully Carrie Lake can pull it through. I don't know if she can. She's a really good candidate. I mean, she really is. She's almost as good as DeSantis. Mm-hmm. I guess the bright side I believe it was Carrie Lake. It was Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake said if she won her governor race, she wasn't going to run nationally. So I guess the good part of this is that if she doesn't win, she can run in 2024 because she's not going back on a promise or anything like that. So it's like, hey, I guess that's a positive, but it still sucks that she can't fix Arizona,
right.
But hey, come fix the United States if you want. So, I mean, I guess that's a positive if you really want to look at things positively somehow.
Let me pull this up. Apparently, now one thing that I heard from a few people, this was interesting, is I think it was New Hampshire did very badly when it comes to election results. Apparently, there was a lot of blue there, which I'm not saying I'm surprised, but apparently some people were. Like, okay, Maggie Hassan was one of them, and I just had my computer experience a little bit of a malfunction.
Isn't New Hampshire like a really weird
I think that
state?
One's kind of purple.
Yeah.
From what I can recall, it's kind of a purple one as well.
Yeah, but don't they do their voting really weird too?
I'm not sure. So Maggie Hassan, the incumbent, who is the Democrat, beat Donald Bolduc, who she won 53.5. He lost 44.6. This is 96% votes in. So they estimate they've got another 26,000-ish out, but apparently he has no path forward.
Did Boebert pull it out?
I was actually going to look that up too.
Yeah, look up Boebert.
Colorado.
I think I saw something that said she probably was.
She was going to
pull it out.
Pull
it out. I think she was going to pull it out or had pulled ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one. So to me, Michael Bennett won in Colorado. He's a Democrat, but whenever he ran in 2020, he did not strike me as a far hard left guy. Now, I don't know anything about what he's doing these days. He's probably pretty bad.
I don't want any Democrat at this
point.
I
agree. And look, he's definitely not the solution, but I'm just saying.
No, so it's Colorado. Colorado's looking at sitting here. Colorado's next thing is legalizing
all drugs.
Psychedelics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, psychedelics should soon be legal in Colorado, so good for you, Colorado, I guess.
Michael Bennett's margin, he won 54.9. Joe O'Day was 42.4.
I love looking at the no names.
Yeah, well, again, like you say, I don't even know who this is. And this is 90% reporting, but they've called it for Bennett. It just comes down to, let me find the Boebert election, because that's, I think that's House. That is
Yeah, I'm pretty
House.
sure that is House, yeah.
Yeah, let me find elections.
What do you think about her?
I know hardly anything about her other than the left hates her. I need to follow her more. I do remember that wasn't she the one...
You heard about the Ilhan Omar issue, right?
No, well, I know that Boebert wanted to wear a gun to Congress, something like that. Now,
there was that.
What did she say about Omar?
I believe that Omar caused a issue, and she did end up... Boebert did end up apologizing. I believe it was Boebert. I'm pretty sure it was Boebert. But anyway, I guess they were in an elevator together, and Boebert had made a joke about Omar. You know, she had a backpack. Omar had a backpack or whatever.
I can see this is
and
going.
Boebert said something about, be careful, she might have a bomb or some crap like that. And it's like, what? That's... You know, even for me, that's not professional. like you don't need to say that. But it's like, to get all the flack and hate, it's like, again, I don't think that's funny in the sense of, you know, that's just not what our representatives should be doing.
Okay, so it's the other way around. Bennett.
No, I don't think it's...
Bennett was Senate, Boebert is House.
Oh, okay.
I had that wrong.
I gotcha.
Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
But yeah, no, it wasn't professional. I don't agree with it whatsoever.
I did not hear about that.
To cause such a fuss about it, it's like, okay, you got your feelings hurt. She said sorry, leave it alone. Yeah. You know, like, but again, I understand why she, like, got irritated or annoyed. I kind of got annoyed just by the fact of, like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we... Again, you're our representatives. You should not be saying stuff... Like, on either side. You know, you shouldn't be saying stuff like, be professional a little bit.
So, Lauren Boebert, we're looking at 50.2. She's ahead of Adam Frisch, who is at 49.8. This is 98% reporting. Now, the only question becomes...
What's left?
Well, there's that, but also the question becomes, I don't know their election law. If it's too close, will that go to runoff? That would be interesting. Now, one thing that's important to consider, we'll go ahead and go to the future as well, I guess.
Yeah.
But we can go ahead and go into this question. Do runoffs favor one side or the other? And to be honest, to me, it's incalculable. I have no idea. To me,
I'm sure you can go back through
the only thing I can think of, that would be an interesting study. That would be a very interesting study. Considering now, in recent memory, very recent memory, 2020, if you remember, was Perdue and Loeffler were the Republicans in the Senate, and they both lost.
Yeah,
Loeffler lost to, I forget the guy's name that beat him. Some real basic, like, establishment Democrat politician beat him. And then Warnock beat Perdue.
Right.
And those were both pretty shocking.
Right.
Like, everyone's thought, well, if we lose one, we'll get the other. And it was both
and it didn't
Democrat. Go that way. Now it's Georgia, and this is Colorado. But again, now we got a situation, Georgia, and it's Warnock versus Walker. And so the question becomes, what happens there? What's going to happen there? Does it favor? And I just wonder, the bad part of your heart, and we got to watch it as Christians, is I hope some scandal comes out that condemns Warnock and everyone starts voting for Walker. At the same time, now I don't want that to happen artificially. I want it to happen of natural cause. But the problem is, so much has been brought to life about how he apparently ran over either a wife or a girlfriend's foot. He apparently, and they call it like domestic abuse. That's to me like, well, was that an accident? That may have been an accident.
Yeah, was it an accident or was it intentional?
I mean, it's like, I'm not even going to condemn him for that.
Make sure we have the facts before we start running with that type of stuff.
But it's a controversy nonetheless. So like, there's a lot of controversy with him.
Yeah.
Plus, again, what I mentioned about Fidel Castro. But the problem is the Democrats don't care about calling out Fidel Castro in a good way.
Right.
To me, not anymore. Now, maybe for a long time they did. Now they're all concerned about, don't you dare say anything good about Putin. Don't you dare say anything good about Trump. Don't you dare say anything good about the MAGA Republicans. If you do, then we are dead to us. But if you say anything that's positive about some communist, or like Che Guevara is another example, they don't care at all. In fact, they'll defend you all the more.
But then you could argue on the right, we've got a guy trying to do the same thing with the right, as far as, don't you dare say anything good about people I didn't endorse. You know,
there's that.
You know, I'm just saying. Now, again, he's not as bad, but, you know, you could argue we've got a guy kind of doing the same thing, which his is at least an ego issue versus the Dems legitimately just want to destroy America. You know, so, I mean, I'll take the ego over
destruction.
Destruction any day. but yeah, what is that one?
This is just Pennsylvania. I was just going to talk about Pennsylvania.
Okay,
we haven't even mentioned it so far.
Pennsylvania, boy, you're dead to me.
Right now, we're showing this is 97% in We are showing Fetterman 50.9.
I don't know.
And Mehmet Oz 46.7.
And then we have a bunch of no names to take votes away from people. All right. So I'm in favor for people running. Mm-hmm. You know this. Mm-hmm. But something that I wish we would do before we like had the primaries or something is like taking another vote of like, hey, are you going like take a vote of like, you know, all the candidates that are on the ballot, or like not all, but you know, the main candidates are, you know, these guys, you know, no, it's not a touchscreen, but you know what I meant. Mine's a touchscreen. So, but like, yeah, these guys, you know, like take a poll of these guys, except for this guy, the 0.6, yeah. Except for the 0.6 guy. But, you know, take a poll and the 0.5 guy. Like, what is this?
Yeah, which are Weissmer and Weiss.
Yeah.
Weiss.
You know, yeah. Take an actual, like a pre-primary poll that, like, okay, are they going to get, like, at least 5% of the vote? Or are they just taking a vote away from either one of these?
Well, and that gets difficult because as someone that used to not be super involved with the Libertarian Party but followed it much more, one thing, this is actually, so I don't like Nick Sarwark. He's just Libertarian Party establishment. He's pretty milquetoast. But one thing he did say that I think is actually pretty true is that when you look at the people that are in the Libertarian Party, the people that regularly vote Libertarian, this he said, I think there's a lot of truth to this, is there's about a third of them that if they had to choose between the Republican and the Democrat, will vote Republican.
Yes.
There's another third that will vote Democrat instead of Republican.
Yeah.
And then there's another third
that
will just stay home.
Right.
They'll either stay home or they'll say, no, we've got to vote for the Libertarian candidate no matter who it is.
Yeah, do our duty,
No matter who it is. Exactly. Instead of voting red no matter who or blue no matter who, it's Libertarian Party no matter who, which is just no better. It's like, don't be blind. I mean, think about what you're doing, for goodness sake. So, to me, I think so he says a third. I think the breakdown might be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. It may be more like 50 and 50. I don't know if there's, but I do think there's some, it may not be a whole third, that legitimately would not vote or would not vote for either one. So the question becomes, are you pulling votes from one or the other? In some cases, possibly.
You're pulling a third?
But another, well, if those
stats are right.
Right, that's if Sarwark is right.
Yeah, of course.
I would hold to some of these people that voted for Eric Gerhardt, don't know anything about the guy.
Yeah.
He got 1.4% of the vote, which is 72,000 people. I mean, it's not in the millions, but 72,000. The question is, out of those 72,000, would 25,000 vote for the Republican and 25 have voted for the Democrat, or would they have?
And that's not going to change the vote here anyway. But still,
right. So I know we're talking about principles. I get that.
Yeah.
But the question that just becomes the question. And I do think some of it also. This is one thing I learned. Depends on the state.
Yeah.
So Colorado and especially, and even surprisingly, California have a lot of libertarians. Other states don't so much.
They call themselves libertarian.
Well,
the question is,
I mean, I've got them on Facebook. I've chatted with some of them,
right?
And they've gone to their state parties, and especially Colorado has a very big one. And again, some of them are pretty fake. Some of them are the libertarians that actually, they call themselves libertarians, that actually would vote for the Democrat.
Yeah.
That they're kind of like that.
Yeah.
But others are not. Others would stay home, or they would actually go toward the conservative side.
Right.
And that's more of my ilk, even though I've got my problems with being a hardcore libertarian. I've opened up about that with you.
Right, of course.
My sort of shifting politically.
Right.
But that out of the way.
He's transitioning.
Not in that way.
I have jokes too.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to admit it yet. He hasn't come out of the political closet yet.
Well, this analogy just gets worse and worse.
It does. And I'm loving every second of it.
Don't kill me in the womb.
Oh, that's great.
So, speaking of people with problems, get a load of Fetterman. This is just...
Get a load of Pennsylvania with people with problems for voting for this guy.
Okay, so
how do you vote for this guy?
I'll probably put it in this episode either toward the end or I'll edit it in. But I saw a tweet where someone basically was trying to justify voting for Fetterman and said, well, if I vote for Fetterman, he will not end our democracy, Oz will. And it's like, I don't know...
The dude's a socialist.
What you're doing or what you're thinking, But how is Oz going to end democracy, A, and B, that's such a horrible justification to say, therefore, vote for the man that has a stroke and can barely speak. So...
Yeah. Also, Fetterman didn't have a real job until he was like 53. He lived in his parents' house until he was 50. Not only that, he also got an income from his parents until he was 50. I mean, the dude's living the life, I guess.
You're actually wrong about that. He actually lived in the hills and was what we knew as Bigfoot for a long, long time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He's even taller.
I got my facts wrong.
He's even taller than me. He actually looks like he could pull that off.
But it's like, how do you vote for a guy that goes, the Eagles are better than the Eagles? Like, what?
But hey, that got raucous applause,
It did.
and I'm like, who clapped?
And like, how are you? That's a better question. Not how do you vote for this guy? How do you clap at that? Like, because I'd be, wait, what did you say? Because it's like, no way that whoever was there at that little rally is like that stupid not to pick up on that, right? Because it's like, yeah, the Eagles are better than the Eagles. Wait a minute.
We have confirmation that Joe Biden was there and he did clap.
Oh, 100%.
And AOC and Kamala Harris.
And you heard that Joe Biden called Fetterman, and that call lasted for hours.
3 hours.
Because neither one of them could formulate a sentence. Oh,
hello,
man.
Mr. Vice President. No, it's Mr. President.
Yeah.
No. You.
Man.
I would have loved to have heard that phone call. The leaked
And the kids
audio.
love the Rebel Millet. Yeah, no, stop it. No.
Oh, man. Ooh.
These are the people running our country, and people are voting for them.
I just can't wait for John.
Or at least attempting to run our
just
country.
can't wait for John Fetterman to give a speech about Ukraine and draft papers to declare war against the United States.
Yeah. America is becoming a running joke. I mean, we really are. And also, moving from that point, America's becoming a running joke. America, we're making ourselves a running joke.
Mm-hmm.
Stop with this whole... I don't even like the red wave is coming to help us. Because stop looking for a savior. And I mean savior in the sense of not God. A savior that's, not God. Because that's our only true savior. We know that as Christians. But stop looking for a savior. No, there's not...
Yes.
There's nobody coming to, let's say this goes really, really far and we're put into camps or whatever because we're election deniers or whatever the heck. Again, I'm just, saying stuff to say stuff. Oh, don't worry, sweetie. The red wave's coming to save us. The red wave. When you could have done something a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Nobody's coming to save you with this stuff. This whole red wave. Oh, don't worry, the red wave. Again, I'm all for voting and everything, but at the same time, you got to take action. You got to do stuff too.
I mean, so there's that. To me, it's the mindset what you're attacking right now, rightly so, is the idea that if we just wait it out, then the bugle's going to sound and the cavalry's going to arrive and everything's going to be great.
We've got to put something in the fight too. I mean, that's the problem.
It's not just voting. To me, the good side of what we're at least seeing so far is that the red states are getting redder, and on balance, again, you agree with this. That's a good thing. We want.
No, that's great.
The only way that CRT and the grooming of the LGBT agenda is going to stop is at the local level.
100%.
To me, the idea of getting the right people in the United States Congress and the U.S. House and them doing anything is slim to none. They'll pass. Even if the right does take the House, the Republicans, they'll pass their tax cuts. And unfortunately, there's not going to be a whole lot else.
That's fun, but
well, it's good.
It doesn't solve everything else.
But they're not going to do much more other than that. They might put a stop to some of what Biden puts out. That's actually the main hope. They'll stop stuff from happening, not that they'll do anything. Right. Because again, the Senate's probably going to be locked up anyhow. Yeah. So, but at the local level, if you got a good governor that says nope, we're not doing this. If you got good state senators, state legislators, a commissioner, your sheriff, your superintendent of education. That is huge. I mean, the superintendent of education, that could affect generations to come if that person is good and if we keep on with that. I mean, the education system, generally speaking, is important. And the indoctrination has got to stop in its tracks. And again, she can't just say, you know what, we're stopping everything, but she can at least damage control.
We're changing things.
Most of it.
We're coming through.
She can at least stop the worst of it and probably reform some of it if she has the right kind of support and help. And that's the big transformation that needs to happen. But even then, that is, to quote every Michael Landon Jr. movie we've ever heard, from the bottom up, not the top down.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you're kind of hitting at here.
Yeah.
Is you've got to get involved, and some of
if you're not going to get involved in the federal, you know, in the Fed, you know, and everything like that, at least get involved at a state level. You know, I mean, because your state is like your last defense, minus, you know, your house, of course, and yourself. But I mean, your state, your AGs and all that, those guys are so important. It's not even funny. Those guys go to battle for you.
Attorney generals are hugely important. They actually handle most election laws in your state.
Exactly. So it's like those guys are some of the most important guys to vote. I mean, all of it's important, you know, to some extent. You know, like state treasurer and stuff like that. You know, all of that's important to an extent.
I did vote for that as well.
Oh, did you
remembered, yeah. Okay. In fact, the guy that I voted for, he. Again, we're talking about the prep of the show. He actually used to go to my old church.
I did actually. I actually did not vote for state treasurer just because of the fact that I don't know enough about. You know, I haven't done enough research into what it. I've got an idea, but it's like I don't know any of these candidates, so it's like I'm gonna leave this one up to everybody else. But yeah, no, all of that is important, and it's like, you know, again, these are your last defenses. You know, I mean, so. If you don't want to get involved in the federal level of, you know, voting for president and all this other stuff because you believe in, like, you know, they're selected, not elected, it's like, fine, okay, we you know, I might even agree with you to some extent, like, you know, especially after 2020, you know, but you at least got to get involved statewide, and even, you know, countywide, et cetera, et cetera.
And there's things you can do. You can knock doors,
right?
You can. Big thing.
Rallies.
Knocking doors is huge. Rallies are big. But even if you just, of course. Even if, you know, we don't want to get January 6th up in here.
Right, exactly.
I mean, we do, but we don't. So, he
said that, not me.
So, the thing that I was going to say before I started laughing about that was, in regards to local stuff and what you can do, talk to people. I mean, and do it in a way with an open mind in order to change minds, but also to listen. I mean, you know, let them just build a friendship, a relationship, maybe not necessarily a friendship, but some kind of a good human relationship with people. And it's hard. Look, it's hard to sit and listen to people that completely disagree with you, completely disagree with you.
And you can't find any common ground.
Right. But at least they'll hopefully be left with something to think about, and hopefully you too.
Try to listen to where you can at least kind of see where they're coming from. Not in the sense of see where they're coming from to change your mind, but see why they believe what they believe. You know, like, okay, why do you think that abortion is a good thing? All right, and they'll pour it on you. Yeah, you know, they really will.
Hopefully,
and it's like, well, okay, have you thought of, it's like, I see that, but have you thought about this? Right. And it's like, well, why is that not an option, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. You know, there's always, if you allow these guys to talk, you can find a ton of counter arguments. And I'm sure they say that about us, but in all honesty, I don't think you can find a lot.
Not as often. I mean, you can
not
find
good counter arguments.
You can find a poorly spoken person on any political side.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You really can.
But well spoken like Ben Shapiro, you know, Charlie Kirk, you know, even Dan Bongino. You're not gonna find, you know, very good arguments against those guys. You know, I mean,
not very often.
Not very often.
It usually devolves into either character attacks or just saying the same thing over and over.
Oh, you're a racist. You're a homophobe.
There's exceptions that I've seen, but it's far and few between.
Yeah. There's always exceptions to the rule.
The thing is, the few that are not like that don't get clicks. The ones that get clicks are the ones that are outrageous, that are crazy and screaming and yelling.
Right.
But no, to me, the local and what you do, and I mean, this is a challenge for those on the right for 2024 is if you're concerned about fraud, go work the polls. Yeah. If you're concerned about fraud, then talk to local politics and say, what can we do to require an ID?
Like Dems get involved. That's the thing. Dems do get involved.
And that's one thing we got to be careful not to make it our God.
No,
but,
of course. No,
you know,
100%.
You can get involved without making it your God. You just can. I mean, to me,
100%.
Most of us have enough sophistication to not make it our idol.
Right.
Where we can say, you know, we trust God and everything.
But it is our livelihood to an extent.
Well, I was going to say,
or what we live in, you know.
Right. I was going to say we can trust God, but this is what you're saying in the prep.
Yeah.
We've got free will. And I like the analogy you used. Whenever, and I actually made a video on my podcast recently having to do with 1 Samuel 8.
Right.
When the people went to They didn't go to God. Number one, they ignored God. They didn't
Yep.
say. They didn't go to Samuel and say, "Tell God this." They went to Samuel and said, "We want a king. Find us a king." And God's response, although he didn't say this word for word, was, "Okay, it's going to be bad, but you've got a choice." So here's the thing: we trust God. We hope in God.
Yeah.
But we have a choice,
Yeah.
and we have some level of free will decision making opportunity about, are we going to go one way or are we going to go the other?
Right.
And that's an important call. That's an important decision to make.
And like I was saying during the prep too, you know, I think we've got to be really careful. You know, it's true. Saying this whole, well, God's in control. You know, again, yes, 100%. God is in control. But, you know, even with Israel, God was in control.
Yes.
Hey, no, you don't want a king because he's going to do this, this, and this.
Yes.
And they're like, we still want him. God's like, fine.
Okay.
You made your decision. And like we also got to stop saying, well, God's on our side. Yes, 100%. God is on our side. I agree with that. I'm not saying we have to stop saying that. No, we do not have to stop saying that. But there's more to that. Not only is, yes, God is on our side, but we have to get on God's side too. Abraham Lincoln found this out. He did not win except for one, he did not win a single battle up until Gettysburg. And then he finally threw his hands up and said, you know what? It's out of my hands, and, you know, whatever you want, God. Yeah. And after that, they didn't lose a single battle except for one. And again, so history proves that too. Until you get onto God's side, you know, yeah, you might still lose some, win some here and there, but you know, ultimately, you know, yeah, God is in control and he's going to make a way for us regardless. And so that's the thing, is we as America have to get on God's side, because I do believe that, God's willing to be on any country's side that, I mean, God's not willing that anybody should perish. You know, so he's on everybody's side. If you're willing to be on his side as well, that's the part that we're missing from that, I believe. And then, you know, with the whole God's on the throne thing, it's like, and God's still in control. 100% true, I agree. But again, you know, God gave us a choice. We've got to be able to make the right decisions that, you know, hopefully are, you know, godly decisions and everything. But if we're not going to make the right decisions, God's going to let us live with them. And right now, we might be living with them for a little bit. So
thank you for making the argument for theocracy.
You're welcome.
Just saying, man. Just saying. You know, things were better when we had, you know, what's his name? The guy that really made Christianity the religion of Rome. I'm not even going to name drop him. But, you know, if you think about it carefully, you'll remember Constantine. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of this? This is by Fox 10 Phoenix. 2022 election. Solutions to voting machine problems found.
I know that name. Maricopa County.
Right. Solution to voting machine problems found, Maricopa County claims. Maricopa County officials say they have identified a solution after about 20% of their polling sites were experiencing issues with tabulation machines across the valley. This is key, on election day. And this is not just Fox 10 saying this. We've got AZ Central talking about early glitches with Maricopa County election machines frustrate voters. And we see voting got off to a glitchy start in Maricopa County on Tuesday morning because of widespread issues involving the machines that count voters' ballots. Now here it says, initially officials estimated that at about 10%. It's 10% in this one, 20% in the other article,
right.
of polling places were experiencing problems. Okay, now it says that estimate did get raised to 20 and then 30%.
Okay.
And then they found and fixed the issue, which at what point it started going down.
So these numbers were and then
Washington.
went up.
Yep. Washington Post also talks about problems with voting machines in Arizona's Maricopa County triggered unfounded fraud claims, but they're acknowledging there's a problem. Now, what do you do with that? Do you decide, something's happening is one thing, or do you say, well, these machines are made by humans, machines experience problems?
Well, yeah.
I mean, literally,
We know that.
every day someone across this country pulls out their phone, like, what's my phone? You know,
Yeah, what is my phone
we all
doing?
have some issue with technology at some point.
By the way,
question-
these are November 8th, 2022, just a heads up. So if you've heard this before, you know, it was published in November 8th, 2022. So
Voting machine problems. This is from Reuters. In Arizona, seized on by Trump and election deniers. It's funny.
this is November 9th.
Yeah, well, that was written a little after.
Yeah.
So So, just when you hear that, when you hear these stories, and as you think about these problems, what crosses your mind?
I mean, it flashbacks to 2020. You know, flashbacks to 2020. But I'd have to look at the stats. I was not watching the election like I was, in 2020, where I literally saw, Wisconsin and Michigan just all of a sudden jump in votes. It's like, wait, how that doesn't happen in general. So it's like, so I haven't seen that with my own eyes yet. And again, I haven't even done the research quite yet. Is there fraud? Probably. I mean, there's always fraud.
There's fraud every election.
There's fraud every election on both sides. And now again, we can argue that the Dems do it more. But no, there's fraud on both sides, and there's fraud every election, 100%. Now the question is, all right, is this fraud like 2020, where it probably could change the election? And, I mean, with that alone, Maricopa County is a big state. I mean, not state. County.
Nation.
big nation, right?
World.
Yeah, right. Biden moment, my bad.
Or was it Fetterman?
Or Fetterman too. That's true. But no, that's Maricopa County is a big county. This is something that definitely.
From now on, whenever you make a mistake, we're going to call it a Biden moment because you're shorter and I'm taller. So I'll have.
So you're Fetterman.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that works for me. That's funny.
If we ever have a woman on the podcast, it'll be an AOC moment. That'll be perfect.
That's funny. But oh man, but they'd have to be a mean woman.
That's true. We don't want to get slapped for saying that. That's true.
Yeah, right across the face. But it's definitely something to look into, and if it has legitimacy, which clearly it's got some legitimacy, but just more like if more investigation goes into it, it needs to be brought to the state Supreme Court, and hopefully goes better than 2020 did. I mean, something's got to be done about this fraud. I don't care what the fraud is. And I know, again, fraud's going to happen regardless of what's done, but we've got to figure out something to help this fraud, not progress or even, go large scale like it has. And we've seen it in 2020. I don't know. So, yeah, but hopefully it was just a mess up. Hopefully that's what it was and they can get it fixed. I doubt it, but, we'll see.
So when I read that, I just think, and there's someone whose circles I run around in made this point. It's crazy to me that we had issues with the machines on election day, but we're not hearing anything about the absentee ballots this time right now. That's one thing that's interesting. So when it comes to demographics, when it comes to people that go out and vote, generally speaking, Republicans are encouraged by Trump and just each other to vote on election day.
Yeah.
Whereas the Democrats tend to do the early voting and to do the absentee ballots, right? The vote-in, the mail-in ballots, excuse me. So for that reason, it's like, why are we having issues the day of? Now, again, devil's advocate, that's also the day they're being used the most.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's where a lot of people are coming in.
Right.
So on the one hand, I can understand it, but on the other hand, it's like, it does seem convenient that the people most likely to vote conservative, they're having issues at the polls, but not all this time before. Because again,
I'll give you that.
Before this, I haven't heard, like, we've had early voting since in some places September.
Yeah.
I think here more like October.
Yeah.
Haven't heard a single time, I tried to mail in a ballot and it didn't work.
Yeah.
No, haven't heard that. We heard.
So the post office doesn't work?
I don't know. Well, yeah. It's like, who's you going to do? Blame the USPS?
Yeah.
They've got their issues. but we haven't heard that story.
Right.
And
no, I get what you're
it's just weird. So there's that on the one hand. And secondly, the other thing is apparently the day of the election. Now, I don't listen to this local guy, but someone in my family had the local radio station going. And one guy called in and said, I just voted, had no problems,
Yeah.
And then like 10 other people said, one of them was an old man, said, I have voted at this location my entire life, and today they said I had been inactive and I had my vote registration canceled. He's like, I've voted every election, and This is the first time he's
That's
had an
crazy.
issue. And then that prompted person after person to call in and say basically Me Too.
Like, yeah.
Not the exact situation, but some variants
Oh
of...
boy, Me Too.
Yeah, right. Basically of voting and how it went wrong somehow. Yeah, tried to vote. They said I wasn't registered, so that I went to University Ridge, which is like our downtown.
Right.
They said, no, you should be good to go. What's going on? And it's just... So that's in, again, Greenville, the city is pretty blue, but Greenville County's kind of a mixture, pretty much
pretty
conservative.
Yeah.
Pretty much conservative.
I know TR's red.
Yeah. but that's within red South Carolina, and and that's going on.
Yeah.
Then another person I know tried to vote. He tried to basically mail in information to our University Ridge downtown.
Oh, yeah?
And he waited months waiting to get the vote registration card.
That's crazy.
Called, and they're like, oh, we never received that. So literally it was like, okay, so you're just going to blame the USPS. And they said, well,
I mean, that does happen.
You have to do it online. And he was like, well, I don't really want to. And so he ended up, it sounds like basically you have to do it online. If you mail it in, there's no guarantee they're going to give you the card.
Right. Huh.
Their argument is you either have to do it online or you have to come here.
And I mean,
which to those of us who have jobs, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Well, by the time I'm off, you're closed. It's like, what do we do?
And I mean, I guess the argument there is like, well, that's just the way the business does it, but, again, like you have points too. If that is true on how they do things, and it's like, oh, well, I guess, but at the same point in time, okay, where did the mail go? Why wasn't it returned?
Right.
Like that.
Right. That's the bigger question.
Yeah, that's that. So it's like, okay, so you don't like that. That's my question. Is like, okay, fine, he's got to do it online, but like, why didn't I get my mail
where
back?
did it go?
Shouldn't it come back if you guys don't receive stuff, right?
So
or like, I don't know.
My main concern in reading this from the laptop, all these articles, is my concern is actually to an extent Colorado, Arizona, and Georgia, meaning, to mention them by name, Lake, Boebert, and Walker, because to me, if I were on the left, I would fear them more than anyone.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Lake is a balls to the wall, not literally, she's not a Democrat trans person, is a complete hardcore.
I would hope she's not.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't vote for her if she runs for president.
I'm sorry for bringing up Caitlyn Jenner without meaning to.
Oh man, that was a Republican, man.
Yeah, right. But not in...
Caitlyn Jenner is not a Republican.
No.
Just a heads up. But anyway, aside from the point.
Forget the fact that he has a Fox News show.
Yeah.
So, stupid. I don't even know the name of it. So...
balls to the wall. That's what it is. Anyway.
I'm sorry. If I were to have an appearance on that show, I would have to say I'd be dropping them back and forth like balls to the wall. And
they didn't shut you off.
Well, Caitlyn, I'm having a bit of a transition. Like I'd be doing.
You're
it all.
instantly shut off.
There's no I feel like I don't appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Oh man, that's but no, I get what you're saying.
But to me, if I were on the Democrat side, those would be the threats.
Oh yeah,
they hate Boebert. They hate, and if Lake becomes a governor, will really hate Lake.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And if Walker gets in, even though I don't know if Walker would be the most competent congressperson, he seems a little bit simple. I think he would vote right overall.
I think he would have this period of figuring things out because he's never done stuff like this before, and that's anybody that just gets in there like that, so
right.
But I trust him. I think he's overall a good dude. His past, that again, but people have past. You have a past, I have a past. If Jesus can forgive us, why can't we forgive others? Right. If you've genuinely changed,
right.
So if he's genuinely changed on this stuff, then hey, give the guy a shot. And I think again, like you said, he'll probably have a little bit of a rough start, but no, I think he can cause damage, especially because he's a Republican and he's black. And they've attacked this man on his race, and that's something I don't understand is how you attack somebody for race, disability, any of the sort, again, and people say, well, you guys attack, Fetterman for, his stroke. That is a little different in the sense of the man. I feel bad for the man, but I don't think that the man should be running when you literally have something like that, that could cause issues.
Right.
You know,
that was the point of the criticism. It was not ableism like, oh, we hold it against it, or it was something personal.
Right.
It was like, no, you're not qualified.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Right, 100%. So it is different in the sense of the way that the Dems do it. You know, calling Walker, Uncle Tom and all this other stuff. I mean, that's just not right. I mean, oh, he's whitewashed. It's like, how? Like, no, he's just a free-thinking person. Like, and apparently, I guess that's wrong to the Dems.
Yeah, for you to think freely.
For any minority or just anybody in general to free think, that's horrible.
It is everybody in general. I mean, one thing that was pretty recent. One thing, by the way, I was going to mention earlier when it comes to talking to people that you know about politics.
Yeah.
One thing I like about Dennis Prager, even though I don't agree with him on everything,
right, is
he says from time to time, I value clarity over agreement. Sometimes, if there's no common ground with somebody, say, okay, well then I want to hear you state your position, state it clearly, so I can at least understand what you're saying, even if I don't agree with it.
Right.
You can do the trying to find common ground, but at times you need to just try to be clear.
Yeah.
And one thing having to do with all this is, I guess what I'm after is, you got to look at the long game.
Yeah.
And he was talking. So long game. What's happening? People on the left, in drips. There's people that are joining the left too, especially when they're coming out of the education system, but they're leaving the left. You've got people like even Joe Rogan that used to be way more liberal. Now he's more of like an independent. He's kind of ish. To me, he's kind of a fence sitter.
He's left-ish, but
you've got
still
Dave Rubin that used to be more libertarian. Now he's kind of libertarian / kind of conservative
libertarian,
in certain ways. He's kind of all over the place. He still uses the term classical liberal, but to me, he's basically kind of like a liberal-ish conservative. That's how I would view him.
Yeah. With the term liberal actually being used the way it's supposed to.
Right. But the thing I was going to say is having to do with him. Who does the left hate? They hate minorities that go away from them. They also freaking hate Dave Rubin, because Dave Rubin used to be on the left, and he knows the terms they use.
Yeah.
He knows the arguments they make. And as a result, I mean, you look at these people like Sam Cedar, you look at these people like the Young Turks, the videos they make just like eviscerating him. They just hate him so much. Even Joe Rogan. The main problem they have with Joe Rogan is not even necessarily his views. Some of it is his views. The main problem, though, has to do with who he platforms.
Right.
So, like the fact that he'll sit down people that they think are unsavory. Some probably are unsavory, but some it's like, well, I want to hear your point. Like, what do you think?
100%.
So that's the thing. They hate anyone that was with them that turns against them. And on the one hand, it's understandable, but on the other hand, it's such vitriol and venom. It's over the top. So that's.
And then if you were never with them, they also hate you in general. If you think differently.
So they also, this is the other side of the coin, hate you if you don't like them, or I'm sorry, if you know they don't like you and you don't care.
Yeah.
You're just like, no, truth is truth.
You should care.
Truth is truth. This is how it is. Yeah. And you can cry and be upset, but I mean,
I'll go find somebody else who likes me.
This is truth. This is the truth. This is how it is. Mm-hmm. This is marriage. My definition of it, God's definition of it. This is truth, and there is the truth. It's not just your truth and my truth. And this is how it is. And if you're like
life starts in the womb,
they just exactly. you name it. You name it.
Yeah.
They just go completely berserk then too.
No,
and it's absurd the fact that people look at people and all they want is a controlled border. Yeah. And they say that is a fascist position. And it's like, that is such a basic position to have.
Multiple countries have had controlled borders?
Yeah. It's such
multiple successful countries, too.
It is such a basic position to have. And they act like it's some alt-right fascist talking point, and it's not. But by the same token, that having Obamacare, if not more, is a centrist position. It's like, that is a far position to have. But our Overton window, and again, this is another like socialist talking point, is that the Overton window has moved so far to the right. And it's like, no, it's moved to the left.
No.
The fact that trans rights and Obamacare as a minimum are considered normal by the Democrat Party shows how extreme far left they've gone.
Yeah.
I mean, transing the kids is a social issue, and then as an economic / healthcare issue, the Obamacare. I mean, almost no one is like, Obamacare is sufficient. Everyone's like, more. It's just, are you for more, or are you for like Canada in Britain? That's the question. So it's gone off the rails.
Yeah.
And if you disagree with that, they hate you for it.
No,
It's
yeah,
just
100%.
insane.
No, I agree with you. I mean, and how you fix that.
Because to me, how you fix that, you can only out-argue them so much.
Yeah.
Eventually, they close their ears and go blah, 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 and they don't want to hear it.
You have to look for the ones that are actually willing to listen. If you can get somebody to listen to you and actually is genuinely looking for the truth, search for the ones that are looking for the truth.
Right.
You can try and persuade somebody that already has their feet firmly planted somewhere else, but your real goal should be the ones that are like, I don't know, like the left's got some points and the right's got some points. Like, where do I stand? You know, those are the guys you need to go after. You know,
Yep.
I mean, those are the people. It's like, hey, let me help you out here. You know, or just well, what are your values? And well, et cetera. Go from there. But there's no point in having an argument with somebody that's got their feet firmly planted.
Right.
I mean, it's just not.
Right.
Especially if you're friends with them, you're just going to ruin the friendship.
They will either they're immovable, or they will find you when they've changed their mind. That's
Right,
the way
exactly,
I see it.
exactly,
Because that's
yeah.
what's happened to many people. I mean, when it comes to me finding my libertarian side, which I think I will always have a libertarian side, even if I don't.
I think every human
even if I
being does.
don't call myself a libertarian in the future, I think I'll always have that side.
Yeah.
But even then, I thought I was really like established as a conservative, and then I hit the point where I was like, let me explore this a little bit, and then I started having an open mind towards what Jason Brennan in his book Libertarianism, What Everyone Needs to Know, was saying. But then, as I've come out of it, I've also had more openness. At the time, I was like, nah, it's just a statist position or like a conservative position. And then I started reading, and I started looking, and I'm like, okay, well, let me keep exploring here. You've got to get to the point where you want to read, where you want to, because you can't force feed someone facts. You have to actually go to someone that has a conversation and agree on how to discuss this, how to go into this. And again, if they are closed-minded, either they're going to be immovable or they'll come find you eventually. So
100%.
that's how it goes.
And he's not transitioning, I swear.
Did I use that word again?
No, you did not. But
Okay.
just what you were saying,
I
the
see.
more I've researched, the more I've done this and this and this.
Right. And I explored.
Explored, yeah. It's like,
I think that's what I said. And you kind of laughed a little bit.
he's not transitioning. But no, I just like poke fun at that because it is funny. Like, no, you definitely have, from where you were as far as like the libertarian and like where you are now, it's definitely different. So no, I get what you're saying. I just like poking fun at like how it sounds.
Yeah.
But there's no other way to explain it. So it's like, there's really not.
We will be reading into this, especially when the runoff happens. We plan on, you want to stream?
Yeah.
You want to do a live stream?
Yeah, we could.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let me know what you think, but I was actually thinking when the runoff happens, let's do a stream.
Yeah, we
let's
could do
go
that.
live.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun. We'll
That'd
go
be
live
fun.
and we'll talk about it.
Sure, why not?
And we'll stay up long into the night, and hopefully I can get the 7th off so I can sleep in, or at least the 7th morning off, so we can stay. I don't know how late we'll stay up. You and I will discuss that.
Yeah.
But that would be a really good opportunity to have for the Georgia runoff. And so let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of any irregularities that you're spotting, but not only that, predictions you have, what you think is going to happen. Have you also talked to people in your community, in your friends group about politics, and are they movable? Are they closed-minded? Would you like to see future content about that and about other topics as well? So thank you for tuning in, and we didn't even get into Trump and DeSantis,
We'll get
but we
into
can
that
go
next
into that
time.
next time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Take it easy.